These are forage soybeans. When we use soybeans as a cover crop, we like to have a long season soybean so that they don't make seed as early as what your normal beans would. Because once they make seed, they're no longer growing vegetatively nearly as well. This first type that we're going to show you here, these are a group 5 forage soybean, and you can see that they get a lot more biomass than the non-forage types. But being a group 5, they have put on, I'm actually surprised how many pods these have put on for being planted 3rd week in June here in Nebraska. You know, they've got quite a few pods, but they grew very, very fast. These things were this tall a month ago, and since then they've just really been kind of putting on pods. As compared to the group 7 soybeans over here where Dale is at, the group 7 soybeans are still growing vegetatively. They're still blooming. They're just now kind of starting to put on some very, very small pods. So I would expect these to continue to grow both in height and continue to put more root exudates into the ground than what the one that's putting more pods on. The group 7 right now, this is not a true forage type. We're working on getting some group 7 forage soybeans, but you've got different options. Because the forage soybeans are more of a forage producer, they don't produce as much seed, so seed cost typically is a little higher.
Yeah. One other advantage of the longer maturity forage soybeans is a lot of people don't realize that nodulation, nitrogen production, ceases once pod formation begins. The plant feeds those nodule bacteria with sugars during vegetative growth. Once pods begin forming, all the sugars start moving to the pods, the nodules die off, nitrogen fixation stops. So by using a longer maturity soybean, you get more nitrogen production than you would with a grain type soybean. And because you're leaving the biomass and the seeds out on the field, forage soybeans are actually capable of some pretty impressive nitrogen fixation. We don't think about soybeans as being great nitrogen fixers, but that's only because we haul most of the nitrogen off in the beans themselves. There's actually, every bushel of soybeans contains 4 pounds of nitrogen.
Yeah.
60 bushel beans, that's 240 pounds of nitrogen in addition to what's in the roots and stems.
Yeah, and either one of these products would be excellent to be mixed with some of the shorter statured sorghums. Like if you put this with that brachytic dwarf sorghum, these things will grow as tall as whatever is around it, and they'll tend to get kind of viney. So they could easily grow up 6, 7, 8 feet tall with a sorghum product, or even the corn, and they'll really add a lot of protein to a silage or a grazing mix when mixed with the warm season grasses.
Yeah, adding these to a warm season grass can add a small amount of biomass over a single species alone, but add a lot of protein and a lot of animal performance value.